Hello, this is Bill and Kevin outside the Branch Davidia compound called...
Standing on a bed of fire ants.
Standing on a compound of fire ants. We're outside the Branch Davidia Camp Carmel branch of the Latter-day Seventh-day Adventist Church break-off group.
What do you feel about this man?
There's a lot of confusion out here.
It's a lot.
He's out there right now, holed up with those... he's got an endless supply of black cows, though. They haven't figured out yet how to get rid of the cows. Those are actually FBI agents dressed as cows to get close to the Branch Davidia Camp Mount Carmel Seventh-day Adventist Church Latter-day Saints of Holy Jahweh.
And what do we know today that we haven't known before?
Well, we know of a dirt road that can pretty much scoot you right by any police barricades. And hopefully that same road works the way out.
The same road Koresh may have taken before he went to Tahiti.
We don't even know if he's even in there, really.
I doubt it.
It's been now, today is day 7. We're outside right now, the Branch Davidian. I just like saying that. Branch Davidia, Branch Davidia, Branch Davidia. Branch Davidia, which is a splinter group of the Seventh-day Adventist Church Latter-day Saints Jahweh division.
And if David Koresh is watching this, what would you like to say to him?
David, just keep it up. Keep up the good work, and we're with you. Now, David, turn yourself in. This is horrible. I don't know what I'm thinking. Well, as far as the 12-year-old girls, keep up the good work. As far as the siege, give it up.
And what do you think the daily schedule is in the compound right now?
I'd say there's a lot of Scrabble and Monopoly, probably Risk, and it's basically like any day in America right now. People out of work, people at home, not at a job, watching a lot of daytime TV.
Or they have Bible studies and ammunition studies back to back, or they have reloading classes for the children.
Just like every home in America.
Gearing up for the 90s,
huh? We're still outside the Branch Davidia division of the Seventh Adventist Day Church Latter-day Jahweh division. It could be the end. The end is nigh for Mr. Koresh, a.k.a. Jesus, a.k.a. Vernon. Had he stuck with the name Vernon, the only people out here reporting right now would probably be the local farm report. Vernon's got some pigs locked up in a hole. We don't know what's happening, but Vernon's locking some pigs up there. But the fact that he named himself David Koresh just goes to what shows a rose is just a rose by any other name. It's just a Jahweh. Anyway, we're outside the Camp Mount Carmel camp, the Davidian Jahweh division, Latter-day Saints and Lutheran, Jehovah Witness, Baptist, Methodist break-off group who believes in that the literal interpretation of the Bible in Genesis is actually not exactly true. The literal story of creation in Genesis is true, and after that, God created the submachine gun. Man named all the animals and then began shooting them one by one. Sort of a new breed of Christianity here in America, one that, well, suffers no quarter. And there's forgiveness enough for everyone here, I'm sure. All I know is it's going to be hell to pay when David Koresh, a.k.a. Jesus, a.k.a. Vernon Howell, makes his final move for the Lord. We all come to this position at some point in our lives, that big chasm, that gap you have to jump into, and it's called faith. Unlike the rest of us, though, David Koresh is armed to the gills, and when he makes the big leap, it's going to be hell to pay all around him. Anyway, we're out here, out at Mount Carmel, the Branch Davidian Latter-day Saint, Adventist, Seventh-day Church, Lutheran, Yahweh Division, breakaway group that believes, of course, in forgiveness, that Christ died and was resurrected, and that he's come back to kick some major ass. It's all out there. It looks like Grandma's house. In fact, I think Grandma is being held hostage right now by the Branch Davidian Adventist Latter-day Saint Yahweh Division breakaway group led by David Koresh, a.k.a. Jesus, a.k.a. Vernon. That's not Jesus, that's Vernon. Anyway, it's day 7. It can't go on forever. We'll be here till something happens.
Keep it bad, bitch, when I hit the mall. On everything. Can't give a rap, she might spend it all. On everything. My team winning, no all-star. On everything. We got a ball. On everything I love. On everything.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have some very shocking news for you. I have seen footage that you probably have never seen, some of you never have. It's never aired on network television. Footage of the Bradley tank shooting fire into the compound.
The most beautiful thoughts
The Branch Davidians did not start the fire. They were murdered in cold blood by the pussies, the liars, the scumbags, the ATF.
Premeditated
And
murder.
the meaning of it all, the reason you didn't see it, the reason they said it's
about killing myself, and I love myself
no, they
way
didn't.
more than
They
I
know
love
now
you,
that
so.
David Koresh was trying to finish that fucking whatever Seven Seals horseshit he was doing.
Today I thought about killing
They know that. They burn these fucking people alive because the message they want to convey to you is state power will always win.
You don't only care enough
We'll
to kill
paint you
somebody
as a
you
child
love.
molester, and we'll paint you as a methamphetamine
most beautiful thoughts
manufacturer.
are always
We'll say
inside
any
the
lie we
darkness.
want over our propaganda machine, the mainstream media, and we'll burn you and your children and your fucking
Just say it out
home. So
loud
you
to
just
see how it
be apathetic,
feels.
America. You
People
stay
say,
docile,
don't say
and
this,
don't you
don't
ever
say that.
forget
Just say out
you're
loud.
free
Just
to
see
do
how it
what we tell
feels.
you.
We are the options.
I've seen footage of the tanks doing
Today I
that.
thought about killing you.
John Birch Society, I'll be not made
Premeditated
video.
I think about killing
A
myself.
second hole
and
is
I
made
love
in the
myself
side of
way
the
more than
building.
I love you.
And a third hole is made at
The
the
most
front
beautiful
door.
thoughts are always beside the
What these
darkness.
tanks are doing in each picture is collapsing the inside stairwells. The following footage proves beyond
this is
any
the part
doubt
where I was supposed to
that
say
the
something
tanks
good to
intentionally
compensate it so
set
it
the house
doesn't
on
come
fire.
off
It proves that the
bad.
Branch Davidians were murdered.
But sometimes I
Watch
think
carefully
really
as the
bad
tank
things.
backs out of the house. You can see that this
bad
tank
things.
has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire
And I
quite
love myself
plainly.
way more than I love you.
The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jets is plainly
See, if I
visible.
was trying to relate it to more people, I'd probably say I'm struggling with loving myself because that seems like a common theme. But that's not the case here. I love myself way more than I
I think I
love
want
you.
to go berserk.
And I think about killing
for
myself.
No apparent reason.
So best believe, I
Yeah,
thought
good
about killing
voice.
you.
Yeah, good voice, Bill. What to do for you now?
I called up my loved ones. I
no
called
way,
up
man.
my
I smoke that shit like a
cousins.
paranoid.
I called up the Muslims. Said I'm about to go dumb. Get so bright it's no sun. Get so loud I hear none. Scream so loud got no lungs. Hurt so bad I go numb. Time to bring in the drums. That put her up, pum. Set a new tone on set the nuke off on I need coke with no rum. I taste coke on her tongue. I don't joke with no one. They'll say he died so young. I done had a bad case of too many bad days. Got too many bad traits. Use the floor for ashtrays. I don't do halfway. I'ma clear the cachet. I'ma make my name last. Put that on my last name. It's a different type of rules that we obey. Yeah, season, we obey. We was all born to die, DOA. Say they heroes, I don't see no cape, I don't see no, yeah.
and gentlemen,
Even
it's
when I
truth
went
with no
broke, I ain't
compromises.
brave.
Live from Austin, Texas, the belly of the beast.
How you
It's
gonna
Joe
hate?
Rogan.
We go way back to when I had the braids and you had the
We're one more on Sunset Strip. Alex Jones is in performance mode, ladies and gentlemen. Yourself all the time, wouldn't that be better? You know, every now and then you should pull out your chest and become Alex Jones on the radio. I am being myself. Bring the truth. He's gonna kick my ass. Look at he's gonna go put my hand over my head.
That is built on blood. So.
Who offered to you?
Well, in England, I did, this is really, this is classic England. I got offered, this is the product, you ready? Orange drink. I'm going, what's the name of it? Orange drink. It's classic England, right? It's such a socialist fucking nightmare over there, right? That's the drink. Orange drink. I said, yeah, you really got my act down good, guys. That'll be great. You know, when I'm done ranting about elite power that rules the planet under a totalitarian government that uses the media in order to keep people stupid, my throat gets parched. That's why I drink orange drink. Yeah, right. See, don't you see how it would all fit in? Don't you see how every word I said would be hollow?
So what do you think about like people saying that Bill Hicks was killed?
That's really insane though. The government got Bill.
Bill Hicks probably was killed by
Who was that?
by Wonder Bread and
I thought it was orange drink that killed him.
drink a lot of orange drink.
Never really checked.
We were saying that the government killed Bill Hicks.
Yeah, I get emails about that all the
Yeah, I don't.
Have you thought that it's true?
There's full intimidation.
Then you're saying how easy it is and how they kill people.
Yeah, but at the same time, they don't have a. You know, where they need technicians.
And then it's got these big, huge bags with almost no air in them of emergency preparedness 7-day packs, 72-hour kit packs, chocolate pudding, buttermilk pancake mix, orange drink, energy drink. Some of the boxes are just full of all these goodies.
Make a bitch percolate, put her on a limit day. Been fucked, boy, you late. She ain't never gonna talk back. Get big money, that's a tall bag. Got a bird off in a small bag. Look at my back, quote hard tag.
All right, let's reset. Got a break. Me and Kevin are old friends. This is not good here on air. Me and Kevin are old friends. This is not good here on air. A little bit of gallows humor here straight ahead. I'm Bill Hicks, your host. We'll be right back. I'm Bill Hicks, your host. We'll be right back.
You can go to Kevin Booth's website, Sacred Cow Productions, and click on Artist Bios. You'll find that Alex Jones is listed right underneath Bill Hicks. When you click on AJ's bio, it has some interesting things. Let's read the top part here. I became familiar with Alex Jones in the early 90s when he had his first cable access show in Austin, Texas. Alex used to sit in front of a star map, and I had a hard time putting my finger on exactly what it was that Alex was talking about. I remember the very last time Bill Hicks came to Austin Access, spring of '93, we were working on a script called Public Access about a Rush Limbaugh type character who angers a viewer, and the viewer came to the station and killed the host on air. Bill's character was an abstract composite of various Access personalities, including Alex. Okay, it's basically saying that Bill Hicks was assuming a role that incorporated Alex Jones. That's pretty funny. Now let's just finish this paragraph. Bill actually watched Alex one day and said, he has magnetism, but I can't tell where he's going. So Bill Hicks and Alex Jones have supposedly been in the same place at the same time, I would say on multiple occasions if Bill was utilizing Alex's personality for his Rush Limbaugh type character, and there's no photos that exist of the two together. You can find Bill Hicks with Kevin Booth, you can find Alex Jones with Kevin Booth, but not Bill and Alex. It's not incriminating on its own, but it's worth your consideration as we continue. Bill Hicks was working on a story as a journalist with Kevin Booth about the Waco Branch Davidians shortly before he died in 1994. Then in 1996, Alex Jones pops up out of nowhere with himself and Kevin Booth doing the exact same thing.
Isn't that weird though? You know, and all it's funny. It was real funny because these Australians had a big contingency in the compound that burned down, and they were, of course, curious. And I'm from Texas, and I actually went to the compound the 7th day of the siege because it was right outside of Austin, and I went to it. But these people in Australia were like, "Oh, Bill, isn't he such an oddball? Isn't he so odd? He's such a strange character." And I'm thinking, well, let's think about this. A frustrated rock guitarist with a messianic complex, armed to the teeth, trying to fuck everything in skirts. I don't know how to tell you all this, but it sounds like every one of my friends. Actually, folks, I don't know if any of y'all have seen this. It's a tape, kind of bootleg going around of showing film of the Bradley tanks not knocking, as the official story was, small holes to insert tear gas, but crashing the building off of its fucking foundation and fire shooting out of the tanks. The FBI and the ATF are liars and murderers, and Janet Reno and President Clinton either A, knowingly passed on a lie, or B, are so out of touch with their own fucking arms of their government that they're incompetent, and Clinton should be impeached immediately. Case fucking closed. And y'all have probably seen the footage, but it's sort of different than the official story, isn't it? Small holes, tear gas, giant holes, flamethrowers. They burn these people in their homes. Okay, that's our government. Okay. I've seen the tape, and it's fucking real. You haven't seen it, so it's, you know, whatever. But old Clint, you know, I have no illusions about these cocksuckers. I know there's 12 guys who run the fucking world, and they own every company, and, you know, it's fact. You can look it up. I'm not a conspiracy nut. This is all on paper. There really are 22 families who run and own 50% of the mainstream media, which is where we get our news. And it's true. It's a fact. You can look it up. I can't be this big of an asshole without having the truth to back me up. Otherwise, I'd be a fucking nut doing this. But see, if you have the truth with you, you can do this. Gee, I'm starting to sound like Koresh, aren't I? Fuck. People have often said I remind him of Koresh. I'm like Koresh only without the guns or pussy. So basically, I'm just an annoying fellow, but and frustrated rock guitarist.
Missing and unidentified persons, it states. Dental records have been used for over 200 years in this country for the identification of deceased. Deceased are uniquely qualified for identification in many ways, but especially since they are virtually impossible to destroy. They survive fire, decomposition, and submersion in water or earth for many years. This survivability and the fact that most persons have dental records is the key to the success of dental records for the identification of deceased. Even now, with many persons having no dental restoration, the teeth and their surrounding structures provide a myriad of distinct characteristics useful for identification. For the next images, we will be paying special attention to the distinct characteristics of the two-top central incisors, the bottom right cuspid, and the bottom right lateral incisor as seen in this diagram. In this first image, we have red arrows pointing to the two top central incisors. We can clearly see the noticeable trademark gap in between the incisors. There was some dental work done to shave them down slightly in order to give a slightly different appearance, but there was no work done to diminish the gap. In the second image, we direct our attention to the bottom right cuspid. In both images, the cuspid protrudes significantly, which causes the bottom right lip to slightly protrude and droop in both images. The image on the left is a little more pronounced because the heavier bottom lip was reduced in size during plastic surgery and we can clearly see that in the image on the right, the bottom right cuspid has been ever so slightly shaved down. In this last image, we can see that the right lateral incisor sets behind both the bottom right cuspid as well as the bottom right central incisor. Though the appearance of the teeth have been altered slightly in shaving them down, the individual crookedness and displacement of the teeth have remained the same. Next, let's take a look at some other irrefutable forensic evidence into the true identity of Alex Jones. Bill Hicks had many moles, but the most defined mole that he had was below his jaw on the left side of his neck. In the image on the left, you can see where the large mold was located on Bill Hicks. And on the image on the right, you can clearly see a scar where that same mole had been removed. Most of Bill Hicks' moles were removed during plastic surgery, but if you look closely, you will find either scars, blemishes, or smaller freckles that were not removed because they were small and more likely to go unnoticed. There is absolutely no doubt that Bill Hicks, knowingly, intentionally, and willfully became a fraud and deceiver of the nation. He willingly chose to become the controlled opposition of the one world government. He has full knowledge that he only reveals the partial truths to his audience in order to keep them distracted from what the one world government is really up to. Their plans, their deceptions, and their crimes are fully revealed at testimonyofthetwowitnesses.com. But the forensic evidence does not end with just teeth, moles, marks, like mindsets and actions. The most damaging evidence to prove that the Alex Jones you know today is not who he says he is. There was another Alex Jones. He was the Alex Jones who was replaced by Agent Bill Hicks. Pay very close attention to the video clips that you are about to watch.
We're sick and tired of it. We stand for this country and we will defend it. The United Nations is a tyrannical, authoritarian propaganda arm and military arm of international control.
Well, you know, I'm mad at myself. And I've said it before, because I do a half-assed job. People say I do a good job on my TV radio show, and tell you the truth, I don't. This is such a war, I should be devoted to this.
In my arms. Yeah, that's Alex Jones, baby. Alright, we're talking about some serious issues today. We're talking about how they got us divided. It should not be front page news that Fuzzy Zeller said something racist, even though he's an old, fat racist. Who cares about an old, fat racist that says something about an awesome man, Asian African American, who's worth probably $100 million? Who cares about words? We're Americans. We're all together in this boat. The man with the plan is here, Jeff Davis. What do you have to say?
It's like you said, Alex, keep the small fish in turmoil so the big fish can rob and rule over. That's it. That's the game plan. That's it.
All of the images that you're about to see came from the videos that you have just viewed, all of which were created in 1997. The image on the left was taken from a video produced on April 24th, 1997. In it we see a man who appears to be in his mid-20s. The image on the right was also taken from a video produced in 1997. In it we see a man who appears to be much older, with a completely different nose, different colored hair, and not nearly as lean and physically fit as the individual on the left. His neck is much thicker, as in chubbier, and his overall skull structure appears noticeably different. It is important to note that the individual on the left has a much more prominent brow ridge and well-defined cheekbones. Again, we have a much younger and leaner individual on the left, and an older, thicker individual on the right. Looking at their necks, we see the individual on the left has well-defined neck muscles and a well-defined jawline. The individual on the right does not have well-defined neck muscles or jawline. Also, we have a much clearer image of the hairline, and the individual on the left actually appears to have a noticeably different hairline than the one on the right. The eyebrows and hair are also noticeably different in color, thickness, and texture. Again, we have two completely different individuals. The body builds are completely different, as well as a completely different facial structure. The individual on the right has much darker hair, especially considering that the image was taken outside. The individual on the left is very lean and muscular, and the one on the right, while he may have some muscle build, he is far from lean. It is important to note that at this time, in 1997, Jones would have only been 23 years old. While Bill Hicks spent a lot of time practicing and imitating the person of Alex Jones, certain genetic features were missed during the plastic surgery. So what happened to the first Alex Jones? Was he taken out by the CIA and replaced by Agent Bill Hicks? Was he paid off to disappear and then be replaced by Agent Bill Hicks? Or was the first Alex Jones also a CIA agent, and for whatever reason, he was unable to fulfill his current assignment, so he needed to be replaced?
Right there, right there. You work for Time Warner Cable? Right there. Is that who you work for? I work for Alex Jones. Who do you work for? You work for I work for InfoWars. INFOWARS.com. It's a website. InfoWars.com. That's what I'm asking, so I can know who you work for. So they don't like us filming the work they're doing out here.
InfoWars brought to you by Time Warner Cable. CNN is brought to you by Time Warner Cable. So when you watch Alex Jones debate Piers Morgan on CNN, figure it out. They're both being paid by the same company.
Alex Jones is what kind of a guy? How do you explain him?
He's 26 years old and looks 10 years older. He's a hero to the militias. He's a burgeoning new hero. On one hand, he's kind of like Tex Mars, a popular underground radio talk show host. But he's also much more than somebody like Tex Mars. He's an activist. So he rebuilt David Crash's church.
Where can you hear him?
Infowars.com is his website, and he broadcasts. And he broadcasts in like 40 cities. I think it's called the Genesis Radio Network.
Do you ever hear him?
Yeah, I've listened. He's fantastic. I mean, if he wasn't so crazy, he'd be the new Bill Hicks. He's got an amazing...
Who's Bill Hicks?
He was an old comedian who died of cancer in the 90s, and again was kind of hero to the libertarian left Bill Hicks because he smoked in the face of cancer. And
just came on cable access and hung out, or what your actual employment was?
I come on public access and hang out. I'm on 24 hours a day, they say.
Yeah, pretty close.
Well, I can assure you I don't make any money off public access. I can guarantee you that.
Well, you guys have a good one.
Hey, appreciate that call. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, Fox, how you doing?
Pretty good.
I was just kind of curious if it's true that the police can have laser or infrared beams, if you want to call it, and they can project those into your house to basically...
Yeah, the Austin Police Department, last time I heard, has 20 units with infrared. If you have enough of a heat source in your house, it'll pick up the heat source and show a signature. It's called flare. It's infrared heat signature. And we didn't play all of the cut Lear's Lear News Hour, but it says, yes, black helicopters are being used for surveillance of the public by sheriff's departments and police departments around the country. So that's real, and I'm going to play that tomorrow night from 8:30 on past 10 on my Access television show. That's actually my show proper, which is a entertainment show. And I'm going to have a tax expert on, so you'll see the Lear News Hour, a short little cut for news reasons. It'll show you Lear News Hour saying, yeah, here's the black helicopters. The military has sold them to the police departments all over the country. They've got thousands of them. They've got thousands of tanks and armed personnel carriers now. And They don't say, by the way, all these people that have been cooked for 10 years telling you about it, now they're admitting they have like helicopters. It's a fact.
Thanks, Bruce. I'm back here right now backstage. I'll be interviewing the fighters as they come out of the octagon, and I'll also be previewing the fights, the final fights in each weight division. I'll be talking to fighters. We'll find out who's injured, who's going to be able to continue, and who's going to go in if we need an alternate. Anything we need to know, as soon as I find out, you'll know. Back to you guys.
An overlooked and ignored example, but is indeed a crucial one. Alex Jones and Joe Rogan have been friends since 1998. To many, this appears to be their only connection, just friends. But the connections run much deeper than just friends. This is a network that tells the true story of the origin of both Alex Jones and Joe Rogan, and the new alt-media empire they've built. Many people are unaware of the fact that comedians have been assets of different intelligence services and corporations many times throughout history. I want to give you an example of a very brief rundown of a couple different comedians and their applications outside of comedy. Dick Gregory, a comedian, was the pawn that shared the notorious Zapruder film with the public via the late-night TV show Good Night America, hosted by Geraldo Rivera. Late-night TV shows were used in multiple applications as well. In modern times, the podcasts, such as Joe Rogan, have stepped into their previous roles. As many of you know, the Zapruder film is deceptive, as well as the man who filmed it, Abraham Zapruder. All it took was a comedian to inject the controlled narrative into the public consciousness, and boom, they controlled the narrative. Very simple. The last example I want to share with you of a comedian that was used to create a narrative within the public consciousness is Bill Hicks. Shortly before he died, in 1993, he was used by the John Birch Society, which is synonymous with military intelligence, to share their narrative on the Waco siege. Bill was the one who shared the footage of the Bradley tank shooting fire into the compound with the public, creating an entirely new narrative on the Waco siege, where the government agencies were the aggressors in the situation. I feel it's also worth mentioning, in regards to Bill, around the same time period he got a show via Channel 4 in England. The idea of his show is essentially the same exact concept as Joe Rogan's podcast, to have interesting guests on to talk about a wide variety of subjects. He was meant to become a cyber shaman. His first scheduled guests included people such as Noam Chomsky and Terrence McKenna. He was debating between taking this Channel 4 show or starting his own show via public access TV as a new Rush Limbaugh type character. The work of right-wing top Israeli propagandist Alex Jones, including a number of documentaries like Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, and New World Order, as well as his book, The Answer to 1984 is 1776, were distributed and published by Satanist Crowleyite Richard Metzger's Disinformation Company, a company that connects techno-pagans and transhumanists. Here, we begin to see the deeper connections between Joe Rogan and Alex Jones. Alex and Joe are both connected to the Disinformation Company. Take note of the name. They tell you exactly what they're doing in the name. Matt Staggs, listed as a key person at the Disinformation Company and former host of the Disinformation Podcast, is Joe Rogan's talent booker. According to Joe, it's a three-man show over at JRE. Staggs is allowed to book whatever guest he wants for whatever corporate agenda he wishes to push, as demonstrated by this clip.
Poor Jamie, I told your booking manager, Matt Staggs, I said, send these images to Jamie, don't tell him. She's going to be like, what the hell is this podcast going to be on?
Joe obviously had no say in booking this guest, although I do believe Rogan chooses some guests to appear on the podcast. Many are dictated by the former Disinformation asset, Matt Staggs. Much more on the Disinformation Company later. First, I want to cover Alex Jones's network name, InfoWars. What is information warfare? The notion of information warfare covers a wide spectrum of psychological operations, from the classic Air Force concept of attacking enemy computer systems in conjunction with electronic warfare, to controlling information via television and radio, all the way to memes and many concepts in between. The U.S. adaptation of information warfare originates from the future Soviet warfare theories, or revolution in military affairs, which also covers a wide spectrum of warfare, including information warfare. According to the well-respected PI who exposed the Promise software scandal, Carol Marshall, aka Sherry Seymour, claims that the work of Major General Paul Valley and Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino in the early 1980s spawned the entire revolution in military affairs within the United States, and its asymmetric approach to warfare, viewing new media as potential mind war operatives. In a follow-up U.S. Air Force Academy study via Air Force Space Command, we learn why warfare must become, quote, multi-dimensional. The spectrum of conflict, as portrayed in most reading, is single-dimensional, linear, and continuous. It must be replaced by a multi-dimensional model, perhaps even non-linear and discontinuous. Topological mathematicians would call it a manifold, hence the name conflict manifold. Its primary characteristic is multi-dimensionality. This is synonymous with the idea of nonlinear warfare coming out of Russia. Aquino was deeply involved in what has been called the Revolution in Military Affairs, RMA, the future Soviet warfare theories. The introduction of the most kooky, quote, third-wave New Age ideas into military long-range planning, which introduced such notions as information warfare and cyber warfare into the Pentagon's lexicon. In the early 1980s, at the same time, Heidi and Alvin Toffler were spinning their Tavistock third-wave utopian claptrap to some top Air Force brass, Aquino and another U.S. Army colonel at the time, Paul Valley, were co-authoring an article for Military Review. Mind War was one of the papers created in the early 80s by Michael Aquino and Paul Valley that spawned the application of future Soviet warfare theories into the Pentagon. Mind War, in conjunction with information warfare, is exactly what Alex Jones' operation is. Its core structure is the idea of weaponizing truth with an information warfare operation via radio and TV, the use of subliminals, and all around controlling the stream of conspiracy culture information. Joe Rogan has attended Anton LaVey's grandson, Satanic Wedding. Rogan's view of religion and his philosophy of life is essentially one of a Satanist, regardless of if he publicly declares it or not. Back to the dubious Disinformation Company. Richard Metzger was the host of the TV show Disinformation. The Disinformation Company and its website disinfo.com, featuring the tagline, "Everything you know is wrong," that focused on current affairs, titles, and seeks to expose alleged conspiracy theories, occultism, politics, news oddities, and purported disinformation. Metzger admits that from an early age he identified himself as a, quote, warlock, and that through a careful study of Kenneth Anger's work, through his influence, in part, I continued to move forward, combining my career ambitions of working in film, television, and publishing my private magical interests. Anger, the notorious producer of Crowley-inspired underground films, was a key figure around which swirled the network of Laurel Canyon musicians, occultists, and members of the Manson family and the Church of Satan. Ultimately, Metzger considers the Disinformation Company to be a, quote, magic business, and explains, magic, defined by Aleister Crowley as the art and science of causing change in conformity with will, has always been the vital core of all the projects we undertake at the Disinformation Company. Whether via our website, publishing activities, or our TV series, the idea of being able to influence reality in some beneficial way is what drives our activities. I've always considered the Disinformation Company and our various activities to constitute a very complex spell. Aleister Crowley was an open child molester. He promoted child molestation as one of the most potent forms of magic. Crowley's satanic dilemma occultism is rooted in Jewish mysticism. It is the origin for most modern occultists and is also extremely prevalent in Hollywood. In addition to Alex Jones, the Disinformation Company has also been responsible for a number of apparently established critical or conspiracy-inclined documentaries, such as Outfox Rupert Murdoch's War on Journalism, Uncovered the Whole Truth About the Iraq War, Bush Family Fortunes, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, Walmart, The High Cost of Low Price, Iraq for Sale, The War Profiteers, Slacker Uprising, a movie of Michael Moore's tour through colleges and swing states during the 2004 election, as well as 9/11 Press for Truth, 9/11 Mysteries, and 9/11 Mysteries. Disinformation, also known as Disinfo Nation, was a television show hosted by Metzger, which aired for 2 seasons on Channel 4's Late Night for Later programming block in the UK. Channel 4 is synonymous with the Disinformation Company and is another important connection. Channel 4 is what John Ronson worked with when producing films that featured both Joe Rogan and Alex Jones, usually regarding conspiracy theories, that Ronson would turn into a joke or, quote, debunk. The event that launched Alex Jones's career was when he, quote-unquote, snuck into Bohemian Grove. Jones was with Ronson when he did this. They both made 2 separate films on the club, featuring each other in the films. Rogan and Jones are still connected to Ronson to this day. One of Joe Rogan's favorite topics to bring up in relation to Alex Jones is Bohemian Grove. Coincidence? I think not.
For whatever reason, the people in the crowd were really like there was a sort of, they were really fired up. Like I remember this old guy walked up to me before it started. It was first timer. And I went, yeah. And he went, oh, you're gonna love it, you're gonna love it. It's like, burn it, burn it. Yeah, or something along those lines. And it did make me think, like, and then I looked behind and there was Alex and Mike, wide-eyed, looking like they was in, the belly of the beast. And then there's all these old preppy men, like wide-eyed, they were really into it. So I felt like the only sane person in the entire Red Room. So I was like the only person who was fucking ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, but
they were into it. It was that moment's revelation actually that then led me to write the book that I wrote after that book, which was Monastery of Ghosts, which is about, soldiers trying to kill goats to sustain them. Because I remember like, I remember thinking, I was in Belfast, I was giving a talk about my book then, which is talk about all of that stuff. And somebody said, okay, so I know what you think of it. This woman in the audience said, I know you think it's ridiculous. And I know that Alex Jones thinks it's evil. But what about the people in the crowd? What were they thinking about it? And I thought that's a really good question. So that's what led me to write a book about like irrational thoughts in powerful places.
Now, when you're there and you see that there really is this giant stone owl, and they really do have this bundle of sticks that they're burning, and everyone really is wearing these robes, I mean, part of you had to be like, how many of these fucking things are going on that we haven't infiltrated?
Well, yeah, that's true.
Look at that. There's a photo of it there.
Yeah.
This is real.
Yeah.
I mean, they really do have a giant owl, and they really do burn some sort of a sacrifice in front of this owl.
Yeah.
And there's speakers that are...
There's at one point, this is a lesser documented part of the ritual. At one point, there's a guy in leaf-covered lederhosen appears in like a stage cut out of the redwood tree and starts singing this kind of elegy to nature, like oh trees, oh leaves. So that's how it starts. That's before the men in robes turn up.
Now I do my pagan nature
leaf-covered lederhosen.
How much would you give to be in one of those stone bones meetings? see if they actually like film each other sucking dicks or something. There's just something that goes on where they have like something over those guys, supposedly. That's like the conspiracy theory. They make them engage in gay sex.
I do believe these things happen for a reason. Sperm banks just for a reason.
Well, they have something to do with it.
It could be that, or it could be just this weird sort of psychological need that people, like I believe people feel they need to like have a sense of superiority, and then they use that as to kind of create these secret rituals to give them a sense of, like, the angel over to people.
Now a guy like Alex Jones stumbles upon something like that or infiltrates it and finds out it is real. I mean, that is justifying to such an enormous level.
Yeah.
Out to the eastern side of the lake, where they congregate and prepare themselves to properly thank their deity. Again, the 3,000-plus-year-old Moloch. The occult activities are coming up. And then after the actual ritual, we're going to give you some more of the history surrounding it. But first off, I wanted to draw your attention to the program that was given out to the spectators, or the viewers, I guess an occultist would call them novices, who actually watch as the priests and their supporters engage in this ancient rite. Now you're looking at a little demon called PJ that was on the front of the actual program. It's kind of in a Hieronymus Bosch style. He's got a little broom and a dustpan, and he's sweeping something up. Now, even more shocking is the figure of a human body burning in the flames. In fact, I've shown it to people that are experts in anatomy, to actual doctors, and they say that the anatomical size is that of a baby or small child. Notice how large the cranium is in comparison to the torso, that is the ribs. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, this is from the program itself given out to the establishment lackeys witnessing sinister activities. Remember, in Babylon and Tyre, they would throw their children into fiery pits. Look at the size of the hands compared to the rest of the body. At long last, here it is, the cremation of care unveiled. We sat there in the darkness, not knowing what we were about to see in the gathering crowd. Suddenly, across the small lake, we saw a carriage with men in black and brown cloaks, robes, in front and in back, bearing a bound body. Something particularly pleasing was happening for the Bohemian Grovers with whatever developed with that crowd of men in black and brown and the bound body on the back of the buggy. They drove behind big black tarps they had hanging out of the trees. There was lots of smacking on lips of in bizarre enjoyment by the crowd. We still haven't made out exactly what was going on, but that a real sacrifice may have actually been developing, according to some occult experts.
Now live in his leafy temple, and all within the grove be reverent before him. Lift up your heads, O ye trees, and be ye lifted up, ye everlasting spires. For behold, here is Bohemian shrine, and holy are the pillars of this house. Hail, Bohemians! With the ripple of water, song of birds, such music that inspires the sinking soul, and we invite you into this summer's joy. Sky above is blue, sown with stars. The forest floor is heaped with fragrant drift. Evening's cool kiss is yours. The campfires glow. The birth of roses can be gone. Shake off your sorrows with the city stuff. Cast the winds and the cares of life. But memories bring back well-loved names of gallant friends who knew and loved this road. Dear boon companions of the long ago time, let them join us in this ritual. Not a place to be empty in our midst. Don't give us shackles, who hold in this gray autumn of the world her springtime in your heart. A $10 tale. Gather ye forest folk, and cast your spell over these mortals. Touch the world-blind eyes, very open their eyes, all the memories of yesterday, and seal these new songs. It is a dream, and yet not all of it. Dull care in all of his work, Arvin has vanished Babylon and Ridley Tyre, so shall they also vanish. But the wild returns to one alone, and she surrounds you now. Great nature, refuge of the weary heart, and only balm for breasts that have been bruised. You have cool hands for every fevered brow, and gentlest silence for the troubled soul. Counsels are most wise. She healeth well, having such ministries as calm and sleep. She is ever faithful. Other friends may fail, but seek ye her in any quiet place. Smiling, she will rise and give to you her kiss. So must ye come as children. Little children that believe nor ever doubt her beauty and her faith, nor deem her tenderness can change or die.
If you talk to Alex for any length of time, you discover all kinds of things that you didn't know about the world.
We've blown it wide open.
You have. You have absolutely blown it wide open. But it leaves me with a huge question for you, Alex. And it's really, you have uncovered the New World Order, which is deadly. It's full of what you call people who are criminals. Well, this is what I'm coming to. It's full of criminals, etc., who seek to run the world and will kill anybody who gets in their way. And you are almost, or have been, a lone crusader powering against them. So, how come...
How am I alive?
How are you still alive? How are you still alive? How are you still alive?
Why am I alive?
Well, no, which is the, listen,
Why am I alive?
which is the explanation? One, they don't exist. Or two, you're part of the conspiracy.
No, let me tell you a story.
I saw a pretty good movie last night. Have you seen any good movies lately?
Me, I don't go to movies. I don't like movies. Most movies suck. Someone says, hey Joe, you want to go to a movie? You know what I say? Say, I don't like movies. I don't go to movies. Most movies suck.
You scared me now that he on the ropes, right? He was thinking he went back with the CIA.
What? What?
You got
Eddie?
people on the ropes.
What are you talking about? What?
Nothing. Okay.
What the fuck are you saying?
Don't worry about nothing. You achieve a chance. 4th of July.
So this is from 2017. So 2 years ago, I was talking about a comedy club, The Laugh Stop, where I suspected that they were selling drugs and then laundering it back through their club there, or possibly this money is being donated back to Max for further research and further growth of this agenda. So selling illegal drugs and the money makes it back to the legalization process, etc. But this is interesting. Identify a place in Austin, other cities in Texas, and they'll sell you drugs and then they'll launder that money right back through their little club there. But that's a different show or video. So money laundering is a good thing to look out for. Now remember, this was never referenced. Nobody ever referenced this prior to me stating this. Then after I stated this, this Comedy Store clip began to reference The Laugh Stop. And
Great. Oh Houston's great. Austin's great. Texas is the shit.
You're just gonna get an album in Houston.
Is Austin on? You do it at the Laugh Stop in the Brooks? Yes. I do it now.
Is it there no more? That was
still there. Yeah.
What is it now?
They use it sometimes if they have shows, or sometimes I think someone had something there for a while. I don't know the full story, but that was one of the greatest clubs ever. Laugh Stop in River Oaks. Remember that crazy dude was running it? What's his name?
Yeah.
What's his name? Bald guy?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He had an Italian last name. Oddly enough.
Joey knew him real well. Real well. I forgot about that. Yeah, so that was Balex. Yeah, twice. They had a fucking legit open. Oh boy, Mark, we had a good time. I love it there. Cap Cities. Oh, I love it.
I remember there was a guy, you asked him about drug dealers. Let me tell you how wide open it is. Again, sorry to talk about the city of my favorite cities in the country, Hollywood, Houston, Texas, had a kid. They'd come to your shows, and they'd give you a buzz, and you'd go, wow, this is Houston. Where did you get this from? This is where I grew up. And he'd go, I got 6 other strangers. You want to buy something? Yeah. He'd go out to his car, and he had one of those construction trucks with the panels and shit. And I wish I was lying to you. I wish I was lying to you. He would open up the panels, and he'd have little jars. Like, this is fucking 12 years ago. The last stop was still open. Yeah, this was at the last stop when Rogan was headlining. Those things that you see of heat, that fucking...
Did you hear that? This is key right here.
Yeah, this was at the last stop when Rogan was headlining. Those things that you see of heat.
Pete.
Last stop was still open. Yeah, this was at the last stop when Rogan was headlining. Those things that you see of heat.
Pete. Now, who he's referenced there is Pete Pirelli, who was the manager of the Last Stop during that time, the Houston Last Stop during that time when it was open. So you have, I believe his name's Felipe, who has the lowest IQ I've probably ever seen in my entire life. Actually naming the guy who was supplying drugs to these comedians while Joe Rogan was headlining. Was Joe Rogan getting a percentage of this? Was there some sort of deal worked out here? Is Joe Rogan involved in drug dealing? These are questions you need to be asking yourself. Now, Pete Pirelli, you can look up his LinkedIn page. You know, he lists the lap stop there. The documents from the lap stop list Pete as the manager, Pete Pirelli. And he's got a nice social networking job now, which is interesting given where Rogan's gone with his career. And I think maybe you should give Pete a call and ask him what was going on. You know, his number's listed there. Go ahead and ask him what was going on at the lap stop during that time period.
That fucking video that you see of Redman texting me and me going off on him in 2003, that was good. That was good. This guy would show up to the shows. And he would have his music. And then part of the conversation, hold on. It's like you were in that scene in Taxi Driver. I got fucking paid. The one time he came to a show, he had coke, Vicodin, Valium, Xanax, some tranquilizer. He gave to retarded kids and they went over to coffee. He had something else. He had 20 different fucking things in there.
What must have been your favorite?
I used to give him $200, bro, and he would give me a to-go package that would fucking make a mule sing. He would give me like half 8 ball, fucking 20 Vicodins, 20 Xanax.
A variety pack.
Oh my god, he'd give me fucking animal tranquilizers. You have no idea.
Okay, so that's key there. These guys are involved in the illegal drug trade. So let's think here. The illegal drug trade and then this whole maps, studying of the drugs, these are interlaced. If you continue to look, you will continue to find an interlacing between the illegal drug trade and the so-called legal drug trade. Billionaire activists like Sean Parker and George Soros are fueling the campaign to legalize pot. Now, is that a bad thing for it to be legal? No, absolutely not. But here's the catch. There's absolutely a catch with it. And then also Peter Thiel, who's involved with the intellectual dark web in this agenda in general, is also investing in legalizing pot. Corporate weed. Eric Weinstein, the guy who termed the intellectual dark web, managing director at Thiel Capital. Okay. Go again, see all these guys hang out. This is the intellectual dark web right here. This is the agenda they're pushing. Again, check out Jesse Spots for like the mental health stuff. He's done a great job of covering it. This is the example I would like to use. So this is why this is the catch with legalizing pot and with these corporate agendas. So I want you to understand how this works. Fears of marijuana monopoly in Ohio undercut support for legalization. Now, people were wise in Ohio to this. Most people would just vote it in without even, because, oh, it's legal pot, it's good, everybody agrees. There's a catch. And this is the catch. That's because it specifies that just 10 locations in the state where growing pot would be allowed, and a group of 10 investors have already have dibs on it. These are the same investors. These same investors are sinking $20 million into the campaign. Okay, if there's corporate support for something, red flag, first off. Secondly, this is the issue. They monopolize it, so they make it legal, but they own it and control it. and uses it as a tool of enslavement and control. So do you understand how that works? So, I mean, what this is a Brave New World caste system. So you have your alphas dictating to the people, you can't grow it, but I can. I control the supply, I control all of it, so I control what it is, too. They can genetically modify it, they can do whatever with it. They control it. So this is literally the caste system that we're seeing instated here. Now, the Brave New World caste system is literally the social systems theory that came out of the Macy Conference, which is Jewish, you guessed it, Jewish. And the social systems theory was heavily promoted via the Esalen Institute, which Joe Rogan takes trips to. We'll get into the Esalen Institute here in a little bit after I finish up with the maps. But I just want to mention this so you have a kind of an understanding of the corporate agenda and the corporate control, as well as the cultural control going on here. Social systems is literally the Brave New World caste. So you have all your sellouts and all these people dictated over the other groups, and everybody has their determined system in society. Universal basic income, the whole deal. Literally a Brave New World. Oh, and look, the presidential candidate that supports universal basic income. And Joe Rogan, on his podcast, blows it out to all the masses. This is what you guys need, this is what you guys want, this is the good for society. This is the direction we're going. It's inevitable. And he really has that much influence that people buy into it. Absolutely. Again, running for president. Now, where did this universal basic income idea originally come from? Well, people like Alan Watts, who was a CIA asset via the Esalen Institute. Here he is at Esalen promoting this idea. Now, Esalen is essentially Bohemian Grove for the 21st century. For those of you who aren't aware, Bohemian Grove, but they also study like thought architecture, how to manipulate your subconscious. And we'll get into some of that later as well. For example, I have this book. This is some studies that come out of Esalen. The real interesting ones are unpublished. The physical and psychological effects of meditation. So they're studying how the subconscious mind works. They're studying on the people. Now the Silicon Valley people who go there, you know, the top people, they don't get studied, but they go there as like a retreat, as it's Bohemian Grove essentially. So you have all these high-level Silicon Valley people going to Esalen Institute, where all these ideas are coming out of as well, but they also create agendas. So for example, the Manhattan Project came out of Bohemian Grove, originated at Bohemian Grove, and then ultimately was implemented. Same thing is going on in Esalen. Just think of it in terms of Bohemian Grove for the 21st century. So again, you have someone like Timothy Leary or Richard Alpert, who from Harvard, you know, who became Ram Dass, and what they would do, you know, they would go to places like Esalen, and then this circle created a following of thousands of LSD veterans who were then deployed to proselytize for drugs for the masters, the secret masters agenda, the corporate and cultural agenda. That's what they're doing here. Okay? So it's kind of a similar concept with like Rogan and all of the Comedy Store clique. You know, Daddy Rogan, and everybody just grabs their ankles for Daddy Rogan because they're just riding that wave. They'll do anything for Joe. They'll get themselves involved in all kinds of illegal things, do everything for him because they're indebted to him. So it's just a similar concept.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad that you could join us today for this Wednesday, July 25th, 2001 broadcast. Tyranny is enveloping the globe. The United States is a shining jewel globalists want to bring down, and they will use terrorism as the pretext to get it done. So that's coming up in the second half of the show. Very important information. I'm going to put the call out that you call the White House and tell them, look, we've seen the news stories that you wanted to blow things up, that you have blown things up, and that you're saying that 4 million of us are going to die and we need martial law and the Associated Press. One of your little drills you had. And then we're aware of who the terrorists are if you pull this. This can stop this Hitlerian Reichstag event. I want to put the toll-free number up for Congress. And
I won't want you to believe Alex Jones. I want you to go get these news stories off my website. I want you to call these major newspapers. I want you to find out these statements were true by the White House about preparing for martial law. And I want you to let them know that if there is any terrorism, we know who to blame. The point is, if any terrorism comes, it's from this government. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s, running the Mujahideen War, whose family builds all the military bases over in Saudi Arabia right now, sits on the board of Iridium Satellite. He's the boogeyman they need. This Orwellian phony system. I want the White House numbers up there now. A big part of this solution, after you research all the government terrorism and check out what I'm saying is true, call the White House and tell them, we know the government's planning terrorism. We know Oklahoma City and World Trade Center was terrorism. We know the Joint Chiefs of Staff will blow up airliners, Baltimore Sun. If you do it, we're going to blame you because we know who's up to it. Or if you let some terrorist group do it, like the World Trade Center, we know who to blame. And you could save the planet. I'm calling it Operation Expose the Government Terror.
Now, we've gotten to look at least 3 sides of Tower Number 1, and that is the only building
it's exploding right now, Tommy. We're seeing another
apparently
plane.
That was another plane.
That was another one. I'm taking a look.
What's this other bit doing? Holy fuck!
There are people killed there, people shot, whatever goes down also. You ever been there? The international tourist place, lots of people. There's another plane coming, John. You see? Boom!
Israel calls the Palestinians goyim, cattle, or dogs, subhuman. They keep them on concentration camps. I got video of them taking Palestinian women's tomatoes they grow and breaking their water containers, stealing. That's why you have this crap. And our children are going to die. We're going to get nuked because of this. Iran's got the nukes now. Syria.
A key witness came forward recanting his statement in an affidavit. Kenny Jordan said Jefferson Parish deputies pressured him to lie by holding an unrelated charge over his head. Jordan said he knew Miller did not shoot and kill a teenager 16 years ago.
They are talking about how they're going to blow everything up, how they're going to attack everybody, and guess who's going to get bombed because of it?
Way to go, dude. I can't believe you pulled it off.
I didn't pull anything off. That was a mistake, Joe.
Look, I got it on tape. We can make copies. $10-15 a pop for these.
What?
I got blank tapes in my van. We'll bang it out over lunch.
No, Joe.
It's a big market. Same people buy sports bloopers.
Oh, God, Joe. No.
Look, don't worry about your cut. I'll break you off a piece. Just keep it up with the mistakes.
I don't know. The Queen of England's my mother. Oh, actually, that'll start a new conspiracy theory. Actually, Bill Hicks is my mother. You know, there's that conspiracy on the internet that I am really Bill Hicks, yes.
I swear to God, I will make fun of that crap to the end of time. I'll make up stories. I'll lie to my mother.
Unquote. So are we beginning to see how these networks operate, dominating and guiding the mainstream conspiracy culture? Metzger's show never aired due to controversial content. Those 4 episodes have been subsequently released on a DVD with a second bonus disc presenting the highlights of DisinfoCon, a 12-hour event held in 2000 featuring Metzger and a host of occult celebrities including Marilyn Manson, Kenneth Anger, painter Joe Coleman, Douglas Rushkoff, Mike Petsky, Grant Morrison, Robert Anton Wilson, Todd Brennan, Fay, and many others. The bizarre irony is that disinformation seems to produce just that, disinformation. A telling example is Metzger's interview on Disinformation Nation of Ted Gunderson, a former FBI agent who is known for his investigations of a secret, widespread network of groups in the U.S. who kidnap children and subject them to satanic ritual abuse and human sacrifice. However, Metzger's, quote, documentary is obviously a mockumentary in the Discordian style of humor and playing both sides, typical of Robert Anton Wilson. Gunderson's focus has been on the abuse within the CIA and military establishment, and he mentions that Southern California is a pivotal area of satanic cult activity. However, although Metzger's documentary claims to be a, quote, deep uncovering look at the, quote, shadowy figures in Satanism today, he juxtaposed Gunderson's comments by reporting on a pitiful group of Blumpkin Satanist wannabes. Metzger's video recalls a similar piece of disinformation produced by Britain's Channel 4 in 1992 titled Beyond Belief, which purported to provide evidence of satanic ritual abuse, SRA. The show was hosted by Andrew Boyd, an active opponent of SRA and author of Blasphemous Rumors, a book on the topic. Beyond Belief featured reference to both law enforcement agencies and the opinions of medical experts, as well as an interview with the now debunked cult survivor, Jennifer, who claimed to have been part of a group which made the video. Footage included obscene rituals involving hooded men having ritual symbols carved into his flesh, a naked woman tied in rope, and an apparent abortion on other restrained and possibly drugged women. Another scene shows a young teenage girl tied up and involved in a violent sexual act. These sequences are interposed with shots of explicit sex, human skulls, and satanic symbols. However, the footage turned out to have been that of an earlier experimental film created slightly less than a decade earlier by Genesis P. Ordbridge, Three Temples of Side-Chick Youth. Founded by Genesis P. Ordbridge, who are the forefront of techno-paganism that underlies the philosophy of transhumanism. TOPY are an offshoot of the Illuminates of Xantaros, a society devoted to the practice of chaos magic, to which belongs Robert Anton Wilson, Timothy Leary, William S. Burroughs, who is a friend of P. Ordbridge. Additionally, the footage itself had been practically funded during the 1980s by Channel 4, used previously as part of a program on experimental British cinema, as an element of various performances by associated bands including P. Ordbridge experimental band Side-Chick TV. In 2003, Metzger put together the book Alive, named after Aleister Crowley's book of the same name, subtitled The Disinformation Guide to Magic and the Occult. The book is an anthology of occultism that features almost the entire pantheon of its modern-day exponents, from Discordians, techno-pagans, to transhumanists. They include Robert Anton Wilson, Terence McKenna, Hakeem Bey, Gary Lockman, Mike Pesky, Genesis P. Ordbridge, Phil Hine, Eric Davis, Daniel Pinchbeck, Tracy Tywin, and T. Allen Greenfield, according to the book's description. The Disinformation's, quote, wicked warlock, Richard Metzger, gathers an unprecedented cabal of modern occultists, magicians, and forward thinkers in this large-format disinformation guide. Just as Russ Hick's guide, focusing on the secrets and lies of the mainstream media, government, and other establishment institutions, rethought what a political science book could look like and whom it would be appealed to. Book of Lies redefines occult anthologies, packaging and presenting a huge array of magical essays for a pop culture audience. The book features Leary and Crowley, an excerpt from Robert Anton Wilson's Cosmic Trigger, and Tryptamine Hallucinogenics and Consciousness by Terence McKenna. The book features several articles on Aleister Crowley, as well as the first ever biblical graphical essay on Majoro Cameron and Richard Metzger's The Lying of Lieber, Jack Parsons' Antichrist Superstar. Peter Lambert Wilson, aka Hakeem Bey, the founder of the Moorish Orthodox Church, contributed multiple articles to disinformation. Hakeem Bey has also received criticism for writing for the North American Man-Boy Love Association, aka NAMBLA, a pedophile advocacy organization in the U.S. that works to abolish age consent laws. Bey was also associated with fellow NAMBLA supporter Harry Hay, who is considered the founder of the gay liberation movement. He's also the founder of the Machine Society, the first sustained gay rights group in the United States. Hay was also a practitioner of Crowley's sex magic, and was also a member of the Epigay Lodge in Los Angeles under W.T. Smith, where he was hired to play the organ for the OTO's Gnostic Mass. There are many more occultist connections to the disinformation company. I could go on for another hour listing these, but I want to keep this video somewhat short and wrap it up with a little segment on libertarianism, which also ties in with these same occult networks, as we see demonstrated by Alex Jones's connection to the disinformation company. Another common theme you're going to see through all this counterculture MK Ultra stuff is heavy involvement with the Soviet Union. Okay? There's a reason for that. If you watch that KGB defector, I can't, his name escapes me right now, Yuri Bezmenov, and he talks about how the KGB wanted to push yoga and these meditation and these Esalen type movements within the country because there's a method of control with that. Okay? So, and it's on record. You can read the documents how they would push it. They had a hard time. The Soviets had a hard time running operatives via the West Coast, and they found an in with the peace hippie movement. So, again, Maps working with the Soviets in the 90s, 1994, 92, right in that turning point, working with since 1985. So this is this guy researching ketamine in the former Soviet Union, which is still the Soviet Union. If you don't understand that they faked their breakup, that was all predicted by the defectors, like Anatoly Golitsyn. That's exactly what's going on. I would research that. But he was researching ketamine, and if you go through here, it seems as though he was more interested in the subconscious mind than anything, what the effects and how to influence the subconscious mind. That seems to be his main focus here when working with ketamine on people. And they got contracts with military hospitals, like veterans hospitals. So where was MAPS born? Where did the idea come from? Well, Mr. Doblin shares a fascinating story about how the idea for MAPS got started at the Esalen Institute in Big Sur, California. So again, think of it in terms of the Bohemian Grove of the 21st century, where you're having studies going on people, but you're also having these high-level Silicon Valley and people from every institution going there and creating, scheming up new ideas and new movements and new agendas via the Esalen Institute. So, who goes to the Esalen Institute?
Esalen, where you just were on the Big Sur coast, and they stored them at their in-town.
Did you see what happened to Big Sur?
Esalen.
Sure why, but Joe Rogan goes to the Esalen Institute. He's talking to Bruce Damer. And if you haven't watched that interview with Bruce Damer, please watch that. At least the first 20 minutes of it or so. It's very telling. So we're going to transition on into the Esalen Institute here. So, the Esalen Institute. Again, like I said, who visits the Esalen Institute? Who came out of the Esalen Institute? How much influence did the Esalen Institute have on the culture and shaping our society and the collapsing society of this country of the West? Well, here's some famous assets, cultural change agents coming out of the Esalen Institute. Alan Watts, Aldous Huxley, who inspired the creation of Esalen, Terence McKenna, Joe's boy, Terence McKenna, Timothy Leary, Richard Alford, Rick Doblin, Straussman, Robert Anton Wilson. Okay? All these assets coming from the Esalen Institute. Having their Soviet handlers at the Esalen Institute dictate to them what they talk about. Most of the agendas on Rogan's podcast are coming from the Esalen Institute. They're originally ideas stemming from the Esalen Institute, like I stated earlier with the Universal Basic Income, first created at the Esalen Institute, promoted via Alan Watts, now promoted via Joe Rogan's podcast, and we're seeing us push in that direction. So, the Esalen Institute. In 1962, Michael Murphy and Dick Pierce famously founded the Esalen Institute. Less well known is the fact that they founded this institute based on advice coming from an older generation of mentors, such as Aldous Huxley, the guy who wrote the Brave New World Blueprint. Him and his brother Julian Huxley promoted the idea of chaos via political, economic, etc. landscape for a brave new world to rise out of it, a centrist movement. I'm paraphrasing here. Actually, let me pull that up because this is important. His brother and Aldous was involved in the exact same agenda. And Brave New World is a blueprint. So Julian Huxley, The End of Evolution, a new categorical imperative. This is coming from his agenda, Julian Huxley's agenda, Aldous' brother, purposely create tension across the political, social, economic, etc. planes via liberalism, communism, and fascism. Now you can look at Trump as fascist. That's what he's portrayed as. So a collective new humanity will emerge. A collective new humanity will emerge. Now remember this clip? A collective new humanity will emerge.
Yeah, I'm hoping that having him in office is that the whole thing was such a clusterfuck and that so many people are so disturbed that it's going to make people more politically active and more aware of the consequences of having someone like that in office.
Yeah, and actually, weirdly, unifying.
Yeah.
Because
weirdly unifying. Mentors such as Aldous Huxley, Alan Watts, Joseph Campbell. Now, Campo, if you are unaware of these people, which is understandable because this research is suppressed, they've kept Jan Irvin, who really dug all this stuff out and droned through documents and things to make this information available. This is a huge agenda that they don't want in the public domain. Go look at Jan Irvin's Logos Media, go check out Logos Media, read his articles over there, and please dive into his brain database. He has all the connections there. It is beautifully done, all the footnotes. You can spend months on the thing. This is an important agenda that is unfolding before us right now, with history going into the past and then continuing into the future. All these people are covered by Jan Irvin, with Lawrence Rockefeller being another major supporter of Campo. Lawrence Rockefeller was also an important behind-the-scenes advisor to Michael Murphy since the founding stages of Esalen and donated millions of dollars to the Institute. Again, the Rockefellers are always there. Is that why Joe thinks it's ridiculous? Are the Rockefellers ridiculous? The Rothschild agents, the Rockefellers, are they ridiculous? I don't think so. The Packard Foundation, Ford Foundation, Carnegie Foundation, all had some involvement with the Esalen Institute in the early 60s and early 70s, which otherwise appears to have been reasonably profitable on its own. It would be clear what forces were behind the founding Esalen Institute.
It should be clear what forces were behind the founding of the Esalen Institute, an institute we will get back to in a later chapter. Okay? These are all, it's all footnoted, those are all the references. Again, Esalen Institute. The sensitivity training and, quote, sexual encounter programs of the most radical California groups, such as Esalen Institute, and its many imitators, were all developed and implemented by Tavistock Institute psychologists. Tavistock involved. Esalen Institute is Tavistock involved. Again, this is a hard book to find, and it's basically one of their only published ones on them doing studies and documenting those studies that you can find. It's pretty lukewarm as far as what they're doing here, but it's thought architecture. It's all about how to dictate the subconscious. Now, anybody can go to Esalen Institute if you pay, but you're going to be experimented on, and you're going to be an experiment, essentially, for future programs and future operations. Alex Jones shares a belief with the Satanist libertarianism, which is effectively its founding on the satanic tent of do what thou wilt. Ultimately, however, the libertarian movement in the United States is a front to the CIA and World Bank through its promotion of the economic theories of Mount Perlin Society, which is associated with the occult tradition of synarchy. MKUltra agent Timothy Leary was also a libertarian and supported the candidacy of Ron Paul for president in 1988 as the leader of the Libertarian Party. A floppy disk was sent out as an invitation to a Ron Paul fundraiser hosted by Timothy Leary at his home in Benedict Canyon, which included the following message from Leary. Thank you for joining me today in support of Ron Paul and the Libertarian Party. As we enter these closing years of the roaring 20th century, we're going to see personal computers enhance our lives in ways we can scarcely imagine. Fellow cyberpunk Chuck Hamill has helped me assemble a collection of bits and bytes that you may enjoy, if you're wise. Digitize. Alex Jones admires the theories of Murray Rothbard, a student of one of the leading members of Mount Perlin, Ludwig von Mises, who also supported the clergy plan via a grant from the Rockefeller Foundation. Rothbard was also a co-founder of Charles Koch Foundation in 1979, with one of the infamous Koch brothers, Charles, chairman, on the board and executive officer of the conglomerate Koch Industries. David Koch ran as a Libertarian vice president candidate in 1980. In 1976, Charles Koch Foundation changed its name to the Cato Institute, which serves as a libertarian think tank headquartered in Washington, D.C. According to the 2011 Go to Think Tank Index Report, Think Tanks Civil Societies Program, University of Pennsylvania, Cato is number 14 in the top 30 worldwide think tanks and number 6 in the top 50 United States think tanks. Cato also operates libertarianism.org, which features, among others, the writings of Rothbard, Robert Anton Wilson, won the Prometheus Hall of Fame Award, designed to honor classic libertarian fiction. Todd Brandon Fay, who is a guest at DisInfoCon, had been featured in the pages of right-wing, quote, conspiracy sites like Ron Paul's associates LouRockwell.com, as well as Patriotist.com and LibertyForum.org. A longtime writer of The Ether Zone, in or about 1989, Fay was introduced to LSD and ended up infiltrating a group surrounding Captain Al Hubbard, the so-called Johnny Appleseed of LSD, who closely worked with Aldous Huxley and MKUltra. Fay became best known for Wisdom's Mall, the acid novel, a fictionalization of the CIA's MKUltra acid tests and their influence on the 60s counterculture. The book got rave reviews in the Village Voice, High Times, and a number of underground magazines, and gained the attention of cyberpunk personalities like Grateful Dead lyricist John Perry Barlow and Are You Serious, who is associated with Metzger. Fay boasts of having read the John Burke Society, Gary Allen's None Dare Call It a Conspiracy book, under the influence of LSD, and then he joined the John Burke Society. though he continued to use psychedelic drugs. Fay had worked as a spy for the Defense Intelligence Agency's Chief General Daniel O. Graham, and served as an aide to the CIA agent Theodore L. Ted Hume's Division of Slavic Languages, who had worked with William F. Buckley in Japan against North Korea and China. Fay had also worked with Major General John K. Singlove, an ex-OSS officer and head of the notorious Phoenix program in Vietnam, which Aquino was also associated with, which Alex Jones has had John K. Singlove on his show multiple times. Fay worked with Singlove within the World Anti-Communist League, a CIA front with ties to the John Burke Society through the Western Goals Foundation. Western Goals was a private intelligence dissemination network active on the right wing in the United States. Western Goals was also associated with Reinhard Gehlen, with whom they shared a connection with the Order of the Knights of Malta. Western Goals was finally wound up in 1986 with the Tower Commission revealed that it had been part of the Iran-Contra funding network. Oliver North identified the Western Goals founder, John Singlove, as its liaison to the White House. Singlove, along with John Burke Society members like J. Peter Grace, were also members of the Council for National Policy, which has been endorsed by Alex Jones. It was mainly through the backing of the CMP that the John Burke Society's rabid opposition to the so-called communist conspiracy, which they always left the Jewish element out of this conspiracy, assisted in the rise of the popularity of Ron Paul and the Tea Party, who spearheaded the cause of libertarian ideals. Although the John Burke Society attributed the root of such a conspiracy to the CFR, the early leadership of CMP was comprised of members of the CFR, including Peter Grace. The CMP was described by the New York Times as a little-known group of a few hundred of the most powerful conservatives in the country, who met 3 times a year behind closed doors in undisclosed locations for a confidential conference. Now, I have done a lot of work on the John Burke Society, and I have some notes typed up and a scribed document that I will link in the description. I strongly suggest that you check this out, along with my other videos on the subject. CFR member Jesse Helms was also a key figure in founding the CMP. A 33-degree Mason, Helms played a role in the development of the Christian right, and also was a founding member of the Moral Majority in 1979. Helms was close with Billy Graham, as well as Pat Buchanan and Jerry Falwell, who also were members of the CMP. Among CMP founding members were Senator Trent Lott, former U.S. Attorneys Generals Ed Massey, John Ashcroft, Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, a philanthropist Elsie Prince, mother of Eric Prince, and the founder of Blackwater USA. Again, I stress you check out my document, which lists all of the CMP connections to Trump. There are numerous connections through the Trump administration.
There have been oligarchies throughout history, and yes, today in 2002, there is a tyrannical organization calling itself the New World Order, pushing for worldwide government, a cashless society, open borders, total and complete tyranny, where human beings are absolutely worthless. There's 6.25 plus billion of us. Global said it many times, there's too many of us, we're causing a problem. We need to be culled to the 80%. It's amazing to talk about that, but it's the globalists, the UN, their own public statements, and they've convinced a lot of liberals and elitist conservatives and others that by going along with this, that we're intelligent members of society. It's the ultimate Malthus worldview. It is this radical, virulent form of social Darwinism. It's the excuse of tyrants. And by creating open borders where there's no national sovereignty and only global bodies that control all the resources, by centralizing and socializing health care, the state becomes God, basically, when it comes to your health. And then by releasing diseases and viruses and plagues upon us, we then basically get shoved into their system.
All right, John in Alabama, finish your point, then I'll get their take on it. But yeah, the bio attack is one of the perfect ways for them to come in and really really take over, and they're gearing up for martial law, admittedly, lockdowns, total control, and I think that's one of the most deadly cards they've got, and they've got 5 or 6 cards in their hand, and that's the race in the hole, and everything I'm seeing tells me that's one of the prime cards they may play. But if they don't think they can control people and have us all just go off and die in our houses like they want, they may not play it. Anything else?
Yes, sir. We know that that would terrorize every person in the nation, no matter where they live. I live in the country, so I'm not worried about tall buildings falling on me. But that would terrorize every individual. So that would work anywhere. And they've got the technology. They may even have a vaccine antidote that the elite gets or whoever. And we just, it's with the same account. If you're a zombie, you might be infected with this stuff. Lock them up. Or shoot them.
That's what they're holding giant preparations for. God bless you. Good points. Gentlemen, quick comments on that.
Yeah, they definitely have to take it to the next level. I mean, WTC 93 was a very small truck bomb. Oklahoma City was larger. 9/11, of course, is what it is. So, and they have to ratchet up the consequences and the effects because it's not going to have the same psychological value if they just pull off another truck bomb and kill people. That's not going to be anything. You've already taken it to the level. They've got to take it to the next level.
And we look at the predictive programming that's coming out through popular culture, and it's all about biological, martial laws require some sort of nuke attack, getting martial laws required. It's always the solution is to accept for government control, troops on the streets, and the conditioning for us to accept that.
The emergency's so bad, we got to arrest people that are saying the government did it because they're openly getting everybody ready for that.
You know what Bill's doing now? He's going for the righteous indignation dollar. That's a big dollar. A lot of people are feeling that indignation. We've done research. Huge market. He's doing a good thing.
You gotta get it. You gotta find your humanity. You gotta start taking some
Ooh, the anger dollar. Huge. Huge in times of recession. Giant market. Bill's very bright to do that.
Aubrey Marcus is the founder and CEO of Onnit, a lifestyle brand based on holistic health philosophy he calls total human optimization. Onnit is an Inc. 500 company and an industry leader with products optimizing millions of lives, including many of the top professional athletes around the world. He regularly provides commentary to outlets like The Entrepreneur, Forbes, The Doctors, and the Joe Rogan If you ask Aubrey what cause he is most passionate about, it is raising awareness for psychedelic medicine, or plant-based medicine, through organizations like MAPS and the Hefner Institute. He's a 20-year native of Austin. MAPS and the Hefner Institute. Now, before I move into MAPS and Hefner, like I said, there was 2 things he almost did, threatening Onnit and having Jan on that were legitimate, but clips like this always were ringing in my memory. People have said
Elon Musk is a patriot, Assange is a patriot, and I can tell you right now that Musk is a fan of yours. I can tell you the same way, maybe you don't know who I was back then, but Sarah Connell was a fan of yours. The problem is Elon Musk has taken DOD.
Today, we're going to have Zach on, who's just really seems at somebody like Elon Musk with the bigger plan. Now, what is the bigger plan? I mean, you told me you'll soon see Kanye at the White House. You said that.
By the way, Zach is the one who was behind the whole Kanye West situation. And I was the only one that took him seriously. That's how I was able to predict the Kanye West situation long before anybody else did. Because I listened to what this guy had to say. Now, everybody thought he was too young. Everybody thought he wasn't anything. That he was just some kid, on a Navy ship somewhere calling in. No, this guy's involved. This guy has been involved with Cyber for a long time. Now he currently resides at Space Command, former CENTCOM. He was involved with the Fort Hood shooting. He worked with Voice of America as a victim Muslim. He also worked with CARE as a a double agent. Okay?
Culture will speak. You've not predicted, you know a lot of what's coming and what's going to be unfolding.
First of all, I've had some conversations out there, killed out there in Calabasas with Joe Rogan.
And Zach's a great source of really interesting information. I know who he is, who's that he is, and some of the things he's done behind the scenes, and things that have unfolded. And so he is who he says he is. He does do what he says he's doing, and I can confirm some of the stuff he's been up to out in Las Vegas and out in Florida and out in LA as well.
He also knows Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, and Alex Jones. So we're having a military guy go in between these guys and is kind of dictating which directions they go in, possibly, or influencing them in some way or another. But that was something that was always in my head. These people can't really dislike each other, or they can dislike each other, but they can't really attack each other because they're involved in the same networks. They're Pentagon assets for the information age as well as corporate assets. And then this is from the fight. This is something that I don't think anybody picked up on. Very, like 99.9% of the listeners did not pick up on what he was saying, but I did.
You're the bitch. You can get ready for it. That's how this works.
That's how this works. Pilgrim. What does that mean? Pilgrim. Well, the Pilgrim Society is a British intelligence front. Now remember, with the intelligence community, is a giant spiderweb with Israel at the center. But the Pilgrim Society is something that all the early MK Ultra guys were involved in. Halpern, all those people coming out of the Pilgrim Society were associated with the Pilgrim Society. Alan Watts, all the MK Ultra people, all those cultural 60s change agents were coming out of there. Now, this is something where I think I would see an overlap with these two. Because Jones is surrounded by British intelligence, example, Ted Malik on Total MI6. But, again, you would see, this is like a Venn diagram, and you have these overlapping networks that they're both involved in. And then let's finish it off. This is also from the beef that was going on.
Whatever ridiculous conspiracy. The Rothschilds, the fucking Rockefellers, whatever it is. I'm not talking about that because the government threatened my family. Fill in the blank, whatever ridiculous conspiracy. The Rothschilds, the fucking Rockefellers, whatever it is. I'm not talking about that because the government threatened my family. That is fucking wrong. It's ridiculous. And now you put it out there. So Alice,
is it ridiculous because the Rockefellers fund maps, which fund you? Mind War, according to Lieutenant Colonel Aquino, was inspired by studies carried out at the Esalen Institute, which was Soviet-dominated as well, and the origin of much of the New Age culture, which ties in perfectly with the disinformation company agenda. Endgame, an Alex Jones film, published and distributed by the disinformation company, is a title borrowed from the previously mentioned Major General Paul Valley, who is also a staunch Christian Zionist associated with the John Birch Society, who have been gatekeeping the conspiracy culture, weaponizing truth, and excluding Israel at all costs since the 1950s. Major General Valley is a supporter of the Jerusalem Summit organization, which is all about relocating and resettling Palestinians. It is an advocate for their mission statement, which is, quote, that one of the objectives of Israel's divinely inspired rebirth is to make it the center of the new unity of all nations, which will lead to an era of peace and prosperity foretold by the prophets, which is the whole supreme court of mankind, Israel dictating the world from Jerusalem idea, which is the real New World Order. Revolution in military affairs was included in the notorious Project for the New American Century document, and was certainly ramped up post 9/11. As this clip demonstrates, Alex Jones believes it will be a new American century, which really means a new Israeli-dominated American century.
It's a sellout to China. The globalists bet everything on China. It's not going to be the Chinese century. It's going to be the new American century. It's going to be the new American century.
I want to get into some information about the main man who first introduced the future Soviet warfare theories, revolution in military affairs, and coined the term Infowars. It is worth covering Aquino's bio because he's certainly one of the most interesting and deceptive military men of modern times, in my opinion. It is also very interesting to see the Zionist Christian, which typically dominates the military, crossover with the Satanist occultism dynamic between Michael Aquino and Paul Valley, working together side by side to introduce radical new Soviet ideas into the Pentagon. After a year with the 1st Squadron, 17th Cavalry, 82nd Airborne Division, Michael Aquino completed the PSYOP officer course at the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare School at Fort Bragg, in which he was among select students cross-trained with Concurrent Special Forces officer course. During 1968 to 1970, he was assigned to the 6th PSYOP Battalion, 4th Group in Vietnam. As HA Command and Control Team Leader, he was responsible for both tactical teams in combat operations and audio-visual teams in civil operations and Revolutionary Department support program, and he flew numerous PSYOP air support missions throughout Corps Tactical Zone with both U.S. Air Force and Army Aviation.
I'm looking at what you see.
In 1972, he joined the 306th PSYOP Battalion, USAR, at Fort MacArthur, California, and for the next 7 years he served as Research Analysis, Team Leader, Operations Officer, and finally Executive Officer in the 306th, whose members range from eccentric Hollywood personalities to LAPD officers. He oversaw highly classified basic PSYOP studies for the Joint Chiefs of Staff, PSYOP support for the training of units such as the 12th Special Forces, and use of the 306th atmospheric World War II-era bunkers for space combat scenes in the original Battlestar Galactica television series. In 1976, he was selected for Foreign Area Officer Career Program, completed that qualification at the Special Warfare Center and Central Intelligence Agency during the next 3 years, and participated in NATO REFORGER exercise as a Western Europe specialist. In 1976, he also completed the remaining course requirements for Special Forces, and he was awarded that tab upon its creation in 1984. From 1979 to 1981, he served as the FA Team Leader for Headquarters, 7th PSYOP Group in San Francisco, during which time he became Combat Commander, collaborated on the predecessor concept paper to this Mind World book. Returning to active duty in 1981, he was transferred to Civil Affairs Branch, completed its advanced course at the Special Warfare and Distinguished Graduate, and received that rare primary skill identifier of Political Military Affairs Officer, 48G. In this capacity, he was sent to the State Department Foreign Services Institute and the Defense Intelligence Agency for attaché qualification, completed the Military Intelligence Officer Advanced course at Fort Huanucha. In 1986, he was reassigned to Military Intelligence Branch,
In 1986 to 1987, he was the sole USAR officer selected to attend the Industrial College of the National Defense University. During that year, he worked with U.S. Information Agency representative at the National War College on PSYOP ethics paper, which is also a predecessor to mine work. In 1990, he was the Army's first officers to be certified in Joint Space Intelligence by the U.S. Air Force. He was assigned to a J-2 HQ U.S. Space Command, where in Section X, out of the Cheyenne Mountain NORAD complex, he was involved with those files until he retired from the active USAR in 1994. Since the Army had waited until the exact date of his final U.S. retirement in 2006 to create the PSYOP branch, it graciously transferred him posthumously to Gray and Green in 2011. He has retained his original affiliation with the 1st Special Forces Regiment out of respect for that unique honor. American decorations include Bronze Star, Meteorist Service Air Medal, 3 Army Commendation Medals, 2 Air Force Reserve Attachment Medals, Parachutist Badge, Special Forces Tab, and U.S. Air Force Space and Missile Badge. Vietnamese decorations include Gallantry Cross, Psychological Warfare Medal, and Air Services Medal. Academically, he received a PhD in Political Sciences from the University of California in 1980 and the MPA in National Resources Management from George Washington University in 1987. He taught as an adjunct professor of political science at Golden Gate University from 1980 to 86. Professionally, he is a member of the Special Forces, PSYOP, Civil Affairs, Foreign Intelligence Officer, Air and Space Missile Defense Association. After the conclusion of his U.S. government service, the Constitution permitted him to be recognized by Scotland's Lord Lyndon, King of Arms, as the current Baron of Regé. Lieutenant Colonel Aquino's occult bio is equally as important, given how the disinformation company ties in with the same exact occult networks. In 1969, Aquino joined Anton LaVey's Church of Satan and rose rapidly through the group's ranks after meeting LaVey in San Francisco. In 1970, while he was serving with the U.S. military during the Vietnam War, Aquino was stationed in South Vietnam, where he authored a tract entitled Diablicon. In this tract, teachings about the creation of the world, God, and humanity are presented, as in the dualistic idea that Satan complements God. The character of Lucifer is presented as bringing insight to human society, a perspective that was inherited from the depiction of Lucifer in John Milton's 17th century epic poem, Paradise Lost. By 1971, Aquino was ranked as Magister of Caverns of the 4th degree within the group's hierarchy, was the editor of the publication The Cloven Hoof, and sat on the governing council of 9. In 1973, he rose to the previously unattained rank of Magister of Temple of the 4th degree. According to the scholars, Aquino had become LaVey's right-hand man. He nevertheless developed concerns about the Church of Satan, feeling that it had attracted many, quote, bad followers, egomaniacs, and assorted oddballs whose primary interest in becoming Satanists was their flash-shoe membership cards at cocktail parties. When in 1975, LaVey abolished the system of regional groups and corporados and declared that in the future all degrees would be given in exchange for financial or other contributions to the church, Aquino was disenfranchised. He resigned from the organization on June 10, 1975. While LaVey seemed to have a pragmatic, practical view of the degrees of the satanic priesthood, intending them to reflect the social role of degree holder within the organization. Aquino and his supporters viewed the priesthood as being spiritual, sacred, and irrevocable. Having departed the church, Aquino embarked on a ritual intent on asking Satan for advice what to do next. According to
to his account at midsummer 1975, Satan appeared to him and revealed that he wanted to be known by his true name, Set, which had been the name used by worshippers in ancient Egypt. Aquino produced a religious text, the Book of the Coming Forth by Night, which he alleged has been revealed to him by Set through a process of automatic writing. The book proclaimed Aquino to be a magus of the new Aeon of Set, and the heir to LaVey's, quote, infernal mandate. Aquino's book, Coming Forth by Night, makes reference to the Book of the Law, produced by the occultist Aleister Crowley in 1904, which provided the basis for Crowley's religion, Thelema. Aquino presented himself as being as much of Crowley's heir as LaVey's, and Aquino's work would engage with Crowley's writings and beliefs far greater than the extent of LaVey ever did. In establishing the temple, Aquino was joined by other ex-members of LaVey's church, and soon Setian groups, or pylons, were established in various parts of the United States. The structure of the temple was largely based on those of the ceremonial magical orders of the late 19th century, such as the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and Ordo Templi Orientis. Aquino's association with the Church of Satan and Anton LaVey, who's really Jewish, his real name is Howard Staton Levy, is an extremely important connection, especially given how this culture ties in exactly with the disinformation company. The Church of Satan is really a Jewish front for Jewish mysticism. When the Satanic Bible was released, LaVey shared it with Asaph Dayan, son of Israeli Defense Minister Moshe Dayan, who proclaimed it perfectly suited for the conditions in Israel. This gives a whole new insight to the concept of the Synagogue of Satan. It's also worth mentioning LaVey's Jewish-based satanic cult is way more influential in Hollywood than you would ever imagine. Think of it in terms of Scientology, which is also rooted in Thelema, which Joe Rogan is also associated with. It's a way to rope the Goy and Shiksa actresses and actors into the cult while utilizing mind control and abuse.
On December 19, 2020, Donald Trump tells his followers, big protest in D.C. on January 6th. Be there. Will be wild. Alex Jones never looked back.
People start going to D.C. now. Don't leave. Go to D.C. Go to D.C. Go to D.C. Go to the White House. Just go to the White House. January 6th.
His show became a commercial for Trump's rally, and on New Year's Eve, InfoWars guest host Matt Bracken said this:
we're going to only be saved by millions of Americans moving to Washington, occupying the entire area, if necessary, storming right into the Capitol.
Jones told his audience he was intimately involved in the planning of the January 6th rally.
I put the money down because this is all private, folks. It was
I told my mama that I wanna die. I'm turning 23. I didn't think that I would make it this far.
Crowds gathered in Washington, D.C. on the night before the victory. Jones would warn of a coming battle.
I'm so sick of my sisters that I'm giving up. I thank my niggas every day for never giving up. It's fuck that bitch.
The next day, Jones was front and center for Trump's speech.
In my face for never letting go. It's just like talking to
with megaphone in hand, Jones then led a crowd to the Capitol. When he arrived, it was chaos. Trump supporters were in hand-to-hand combat with police.
Let's march around to the other side, and let's not fight the police and give the system what they want. We are peaceful.
The West Side was anything but peaceful. As Jones was leading a crowd to the other side, the Capitol was breached. Jones arrived on the Capitol's east side, climbed steps packed with rioters, and called for peace, but also revolution. Jones sees it all and takes off. Just minutes after Jones left, a mob trying to force the East Capitol doors would push their way through. From a perch overlooking the Capitol, he would rejoin InfoWars broadcast and start a new conspiracy theory.
This is the bureaucracy. Antifa started this, we're pretty much sure.
These were Trump supporters, including extremists with deep ties to Alex Jones.
For the viewer of this video to know that Bill Hicks is 12 years older than what his character, Alex Jones, claims to be. That being said, let's play a little game. How old is that man? 30 or 42? 32 or 44? 35 or 47? 39 or 51?
Let me give you a basic gestalt. We live in a third-dimensional plane. We can see the planets, the galaxies, the suns, hundreds of billions of galaxies photographed, universes. We live in an amazing space-time continuum. And we're on this planet, and Einstein's physics showed it, Max Planck's physics showed it, there's at least 12 dimensions. And now that's why all the top scientists and billionaires are coming out saying it's a false hologram. It is artificial. The computers are scanning it and finding tension points where it's artificially projected and gravity's bleeding in to this universe. That's what they call dark matter. So we're like a thought or a dream that's a wisp in some computer program, some God's mind, whatever. They're proving it all. It's all coming out. So we're on this planet, the third dimension, which is a launch pad to all the other dimensions below and above. The third dimension, all the mathematics shows, is the primal sea of where all this happens. The Earth's like an egg, and we've got all this potentiality. Now, there's like this sub-transmission zone below the third dimension that's just turned over to the most horrible things, is what it resonates to. And it's trying to get up into the third dimension that's just a basic level consciousness to launch into the next levels. And our species is already way up in the fifth, sixth dimension, consciously, our best people. But there's this big war trying to basically destroy humanity because humanity has free will, and there's a decision to which level we want to go to. We have free will, so evil's allowed to come and contend, and not just good. It's people who are psychically, genetically available to interface in this incredibly diverse universe with all these dimensions above and below and all around us with consciousnesses. And the truth is, no energy is ever destroyed. It all continues on. The truth is, our bodies, this is a fact, are a communal hive organism of all of our ancestors and all of their race memories, but not in just some compressed epigenetic system. It's beyond that. It's an electrochemical antenna, they've proven this, that connects to higher and lower dimensions. So our bodysuit, because our predecessors wouldn't put us in a position without giving us a bodysuit that is them. Our families are loving us. They're holding us. They're wrapped all around us. Their strength, their will, their bad, their good, their sins, the good things they did, the battles they won, the battles they lost, the woman they loved, the man they loved. It's all in us. All these people, it's why we're able to look into so many things and have so many different experiences. The elite are all about transcendence and living forever and the secrets of the universe, and they want to know all this. Some are good, some are bad, some are a mix. And so all the shaman, all the ancient religions, everybody says there are the good ones and there are the bad ones. But the good ones don't ever want to organize. The bad ones didn't want to organize because they lust after power. And people are interfacing. So you say, where does it begin? From the Tibetans to the Mesoamericans to the Egyptians to the Druids to every ancient society describes the same thing. There are bad things that look like elves that have horns when they show you who they really are. And there are good things, but they don't contact you unless you contact them. And then they're almost not even concerned with what you're doing. Powerful consciousnesses don't want to dominate other people. They want to empower them, so they don't tend to get together until things are really late in the game. Then they come together. Evil's always defeated because good is so much stronger. The elites believe that it's not in the third dimension that we're mainly receiving transmissions. Ships don't arrive from Alpha Centauris or Giedi Prime or wherever they're coming from, or Betelgeuse. They come here through interdimensional gates that are much closer through fold space. And so we have to discuss the different influences that are in the universe and on the fact that we have free will and we decide what we want. I don't believe in any of this. I'm simply telling you what the elites believe. I never bought into this, looked into it. But then I began to think about, what did I hear when I was a kid? What did I see? What was coming out in government documents? What was being admitted? When I read all these books about World War II and the Nazis and Hitler obsessed with the Dalai Lama and the Tibetans and what they were able to do without drugs to interface with this, and all the rituals they would do, and how they would believe that beyond the ether, like at Skull and Bones, it's a German death cult, they do rituals and take drugs to talk to the goddesses. Well, they're just appearing as, sexy, beautiful women. It's whatever you want as these spirit guides, because lower entities will come in and violate your free will. God and his angels, which are below him, will not get involved in your everyday life. They will not manipulate your free will unless you ask them in. But the devil masquerades as an angel of light. And the elites themselves believe they're racing using human technology to try to take our best minds and build some type of breakaway civilization where they're going to merge with machines, transcend, and break away from the failed species that is man, which is kind of like a false transmission, because they're thinking what they are is ugly and bad, projecting it onto themselves instead of believing, no, it's a human test about building us up. And God will send out a transmission for a larger plan, but evil's willing to come in, and what does it say? Demoralize, get rid of children, don't have kids, humans are bad, we'll be better once you're all gone. And it's because it's their operational mission, for whatever reason, that we'll understand later what's going on. And so Google was set up 18, 19 years ago. I knew about this before it was declassified, but I'm just saying I have good sources, that they wanted to build a giant artificial system. And Google believes that the first artificial intelligence will be a supercomputer based on the neuron activities of the hive mind of humanity, with billions of people wired into it, the Internet of Things. And so all of our thoughts go into it, and we're actually building a computer that has real neurons in real time, that's also psychically connected to us, that are organic creatures, so that they will have current prediction powers, future prediction powers, true crystal ball. But the big secret is, once you have a crystal ball and know the future, you can add stimuli beforehand and make decisions that control the future. And so then it's the end of consciousness and free will for individuals, as we know, and a true 2.0 in a very bad way, hive mind consciousness with an AI jacked into everyone, knowing our hopes and dreams, delivering it to us, not in some PKD wirehead system where we plug in and give up on consciousness because of unlimited pleasure, but because we were already wired in and absorbed before we knew it by giving over our consciousness to the system by our daily decisions, that it was able to manipulate and control into a larger system. But like the Bible tells you, any pharmakia or any of that always leads to destruction, because only evil is going to come through that way. So we're basically have these light sockets. We can't jack into the higher unless it's our free will, and that takes time. We jack in to the evil. So you can jack into evil, you can't jack into good right away. So it's quicker, it's easier, like Yoda says about Darth Vader. Quicker, easier, more seductive. We're made in the image of our Creator. Our brain is able to tune into the lowest dimension, the highest dimension. Humans are basically really powerful creatures that can live right close to suns. They're highly radioactive. Nothing else will live for very short lives, because we're like a hive organism that actually lives second to second. The space-time continuum is like 100 years. And we transmit our data up. We're able to live next to like these Stargate jump gates that are suns. So because we live so close to these suns, we only have like milliseconds to be alive. So we're actually a hive organism that keeps transmitting up to the next species in our hierarchical system, and then down below us. So we're alive right now in this continuum, and we're trying to progress and make things better. And the elites are trying to make sure that we don't dial into that incredible knowledge we've got as a species, and basically dive as a species, so we're not competitors on the next level, as the Bible says, of the interdimensional plane. And so when you study it, the globalists go to these events,
and
Me and Drizzy, we
they
at
take
peace.
bigger and
Just
bigger
a
doses of
backpack
drugs. They do
with a polo
electroshock.
and a first G's
If you go back to
piece.
owners of
I'm
Time
from the
Life books,
shop and
didn't
I'm
work just in the
already
20s and 30s
city.
of
They treat
LSD
me
and
like Jesus
other
walking. I've been
hallucinogens
through the pain
and
and all the
apothecary.
torment. I
They
say in
were
his
in
name. I'm
electroshock.
making a
They were
important.
have
Not
people
trying to give him
turn their
hell.
heart off to
That's my
like
staff of
try to
paying
communicate
well.
with these things,
This
to try to be
afternoon,
dominant
100
and
goons
get that.
pulling
So you
up
go
to
back thousands of
SNL.
years,
When I
the
pull up, it's
Merlin,
dead on
the
arrival. They act like they love you. They don't
or
even
these
like you. They do a
magicians, or
party, won't even
these
invite you. I
wizards
see the
are
same thing
taking
happen to
drugs
Mike
in these
back in
temples
Bicks. They saying
and
you psycho.
interfacing with these palantirs,
It's like
these
a
crystal
cycle.
balls,
If you
which
test
aren't
me
really crystal
anything
balls.
hype,
They're
you better
psychic
text back and
focus
say it's
of an
type
interdimensional
city
connection,
of
rolling on
gods.
drugs, looking into
The
glass,
city is
to
like
then be able to
It's
see
the
the
new
future
New York. Yeah, it's the
and
dope.
understand what's
Fuck is
happening,
viral.
to
This
give
is
them temporal
viral.
power over this planet. This is an interdimensional force that wants to influence us to build something that absorbs us and kills us, rather than the divine free will we're given to build something much better that empowers the species. So the species is now making a decision about its entire future.
Where are you getting this from?
That's what it is.
The thing I like about him is that none of this is an act. He's a true believing patriot. He feels passionately about everything he talks about.
He is sincere. He means everything. And I think people were very desperate to get under the skin of that somehow and suggest that it's performance art, because the alternative terrifies them.
Well, a law firm in New York City offered me $100,000 if I could get someone who's They wanted to find out whether he was really supposedly deceased comedian named Bill Hicks. I declined.
I go to the media and I tell them, you're Bill Hicks. You faked your death and you're a liar. Is that my opinion, or have I defamed you?
That's your opinion.
Okay, so people are allowed to do that in your mind.
I think they are. But I'm not. I don't sit there and knowingly get things wrong.
Okay, no. What I'm asking you, Mr. Jones. If I accuse you of being an imposter, if I say that you're a liar, that you're not really who you say you are, have I damaged you in some way?
I haven't sued anybody that calls me Bill Hicks.
Be free, be free, be free.
So the media can report that, and that's totally fine.
No citizens have a right, and pundits have a right. People have the right to opinion.
What if I said that this court reporter is Bill Hicks, and that he's lying, he faked his death?
I'm not saying that.
Oh, I'm saying it, Mr. Jones. I'm saying it. Have I done anything wrong? If I get on TV and say that?
That's up to him.
No, I'm asking you. I'm not asking you if you're a court reporter. I'm asking you, have I done anything wrong?
That's a moral judgment. I'm not speaking to the court reporter.
I'm asking you to make a moral judgment for yourself. Is it wrong?
I've not said he's somebody else.
I did right now. I just said that. Is it wrong?
If you believe that, then you might be just like no problem or something. If you did it to hurt him, then that would be different.
So it doesn't matter how incompetent I am when I make that accusation. As long as I believe it, no matter how wrong I am, how bad I am at my job.
Now, when you have a giant train of media staged events, ABC News saying here's footage of a Turkish town being blown up of Kurds, and they know it's fake. The public gets to the point where you can't believe anything basically anymore. That's totally natural and normal. We all reach that point. And lawsuits like this by the establishment don't stop the public from questioning the system.
It would be natural and normal for me to accuse this court reporter of being Bill Hicks.
No, but it would be normal when you see ABC News saying, here's Trump allowing a city to be blown up to go. That's probably not true. That's probably isn't. I know you guys probably know about that. You hear about ABC News, the fake city being blown up?
When you say we're the establishment, what do you mean?
Just people that buy the party online just believe whatever they're told.
That's what we are. Me and Mr. Ogden.
I mean, it's okay to have my opinion. Right?
Sure. That's your opinion, though.
I mean,
this is just a witch hunt by the establishment.
Oh, the establishment isn't all behind you? Isn't back you?
Oh, I know.
You ever dress up like anything silly, Alex Jones?
I mean, Bill Hicks, right?
Exactly. No, actually, well, I was Bill Hicks before. Then I staged my death, and then it became Alex Jones in 1993. It's actually true. No, it's true.
Okay. This is just really hard for me to do. I've been doing this so long, it's hard to give up. Give up on the character and go back to who I really was. You got me, okay? Are you happy now? You bastards? Yes, I am Bill Hicks. Yes, I am Bill Hicks. Yes, I am Bill Hicks.
Yes, I am Bill Hicks.
Yes, I am Bill Hicks. Yes, I am Bill Hicks.
The whole world is a stage, and each of us players upon it. I mean, as Bill Hicks, I know that better than most.
Why do you like these conspiracy theories so much?
I don't know, man.
But you don't get into them.
No. Someone asked me why. Someone asked me why I was a conspiracy theorist. It was an interview, and they were asking some jiu-jitsu interview. Why are you a conspiracy theorist? And I said, why isn't everybody a goddamn conspiracy theorist? We all know the government lies,
but you'll like this,
and then you believe official stories. Doesn't make any sense.
But you'll like this. So there's
that's not logic.
I wonder if you really believe in your heart you actually won the fight.
Yeah, hell yeah, I believe I won the fight. Shit, that's just like when you believe that you want cheese on that burger. You know what you looking for. Hell yeah, I feel like I won, Dan. Come on now.